We have a quorum, right, with the three? So
Yes.
We do? Yep. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. Okay. If you'll take note of the exits that we have, there's one here to your left, another in the back, and one behind us. And if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Letha, am I reviewing the minutes or not? Right, okay. So we'll scratch that. We're going to push the minutes until next month. Good evening, Mr. Poltrak. It's good to see you.
Hey, Peter.
It is good to see everybody.
It really is. Yep.
I didn't walk it. We're friends.
I love that guy.
We got it, my friend.
Hello, Peter.
Pledge.
You did, that's all. And Peter, we're going to...
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all. God bless.
God bless.
Yes, sir.
The only other thing is we're going to push the minutes till next month.
Okay.
All right? That's the only other thing you missed.
Hello, Peter.
Hey, Peter, how's it?
Good. Letha, do you have that letter? A copy? Is that in here?
Like to start a fire tonight? Start a fire today?
Yeah?
I don't have a fireworks. I don't have a fireworks nearby. So.
Rob, do you have there's a letter in there that Letha prepared.
Not that one, is it?
Is that it?
Hey.
May I have? All right. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Good? Oh, okay.
Yeah, people aren't happy.
All right, so the first item on the agenda is Chemco Development Corp. Yes. Before you begin, Mike, I want to read this so that the public has the history of this application. So, the public hearing for the above project, now this was also Pizzuto Lot Line, and now it's Chemco. Is that the right pronunciation?
No.
Semco.
No, it wasn't Pizzuto.
Oh, it wasn't? Okay, scratch that. So the public hearing for the above reference project was opened June 16th, 2022. A few members of the public offered comments. The public hearing was closed and it was explained that a water resource permit would be required if the culvert in the front of the property is replaced. The board further discussed impact and requested that the applicant come back with a tree mitigation plan. The board discussed not closing the public hearing until issues are resolved, and a motion was made to keep the public hearing open until the July 2022 Planning Board meeting. At the July 21st, 2022 meeting, no representative was present for the application, and it was stated that the public hearing would be adjourned to the August 2022 meeting. At that time, it was suggested by the town attorney to instruct the applicant to address the comments and comply with the conditions of the June 2022 comment letter. The chairman stated that the letter would be composed for the applicant representative, directing them to the comments and conditions to be satisfied, and the public hearing would again be adjourned. One public comment was heard, and the public hearing was adjourned to September 15th, 2022, to allow time to address the majority of comments to the satisfaction of the town engineer. At the September 22nd meeting, September 2022, the town engineer reiterated that a wetland scientist would need to flag the limits of the wetland. NWI is an indicator that there is a potential presence of wetlands in the area, and the only way to know is if it is field delineated and survey located. It was also reiterated that the board had previously requested a tree mitigation plan. The public hearing was adjourned November 2022. At the November 2022 meeting, the public hearing was adjourned to December at the applicant's request. The December meeting was canceled due to a lack of a quorum, and the January 2023 meeting, the public hearing was adjourned to February at the applicant's request. At the February meeting, the public hearing was adjourned to March. In the March meeting, the public hearing was adjourned to June 15th, 2023. At the June 2023 meeting, there was additional discussion regarding concurrency of subdivision public hearing with water recourse permit. The public hearing was opened and one public comment read aloud. The public hearing was then adjourned to August 2023. At the August 2023 meeting, the public hearing was adjourned to September 2023. Prior to September meeting, the applicant requested that the hearing be adjourned to November 2023. At the November meeting, it was indicated by the professional engineer that the water course had been flagged and just had to be surveyed. The public hearing was opened and one public comment was heard. The public hearing was then adjourned to December 2023. At the December 2023 meeting, no representative was present to update the board on progress. The public hearing was opened and one public comment was heard. The public hearing was then adjourned to February 2024. At the February 2024 meeting, no representative was present to update the board on progress. The town engineer indicated that flags were present where the wetlands are supposed to be, but to be located and put on the map. The property should have been surveyed right after flagged. Otherwise, there is risk of losing the integrity of the delineation. The public hearing was opened and one public comment was heard. The public hearing was then adjourned to the March 2024 meeting. At the March 2024 meeting, the town attorney suggested that the board direct planning secretary to notify the applicant and representative that they must appear at the next meeting in person. A motion was made to direct the planning board secretary to notify the applicant and representative that they ordered to appear April 18th, 2024 meeting with the information requested in past comment letters, or the public hearing will be closed and the application potentially denied. So, to the public, we apologize for this, all right? We went into a vote to approve the public hearing in good faith, but here we are, all right? So, Cliff, if I can ask you, all right?
Me?
Please,
Yeah.
to just talk about, since we haven't really received clear information up until today from the applicant about the wetlands, if you could just tell us what you discovered there.
Well, you know, I sent a letter to both you and Dan. Did you get the letter?
Yeah, I got your
Yes.
email.
Okay, do you, because I kind of countered something you said on there. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, so the question was about the definition for the town's definition of water course. And you went to the NRI maps, which the town had prepared relatively recently. It was in the last couple of years, right?
Yeah.
And there's an intermittent stream that shows going through there, and it generally runs along where the wetlands were flagged that were given to me by email earlier this month.
Yeah. Well, for my clarification, I agreed with Dan that there there's not a wetland on there, but there is a water course.
In terms of meeting the definition of wetland for the town.
That's an intermediate stream, and the intermediate stream is covered under the town's wetland water law, and is protected by a 50-foot buffer. And we use shoulder coming through there. And that got into the stream, shows on 3 of the maps that we put together for the town as an intermittent stream. And we cover, our wetland law and wetland water course law, we don't specify any, it has to run for 3 consecutive months or anything. If it runs at all, ever, and that one does, then it is covered by the town wetland law. And that means it has to have a 50-foot buffer on it. And if I remember looking at your maps, that runs right through where you were trying to put the septic and I believe a barn or something, a garage. So from the CAC standpoint, you can't do that. But that's up to your board.
Right. Thank you for that, Cliff. I appreciate that. And then, is this what you have to present right now, Mike?
I do.
All right. So also then, that does not include, unless I'm correct, you correct me as I go through these 3 items. The wetlands, I'm not sure, are they on there? The water course?
Okay. Yes, if you were to call this the water course, come through here.
We're not calling it the water course. All right, that's what's on the map. Yeah, it is the NRI maps. It's pretty clear on the map.
Okay, so are we saying that you define it as a town water course?
Per the definition in the regulations, that's a water course.
Okay, so that's
Yes. Now, steep slopes,
steep slopes are fine.
do those meet your satisfaction?
Yeah, I think we had a comment about delineating the area of disturbance in each slope category. I don't know if that's been provided yet.
And
This has been cleaned up a little bit. There's a category for the 3, there's this, and then there's actually, and you've got to look at this, Dan, obviously. But then there's actually a plan that indicates proposed conditions area and project impact on slopes. So it's like an overlay to see, where that happens. So.
and how about the tree mitigation plan?
Right, and we have a tree mitigation plan, which is up here, which trees are being removed and which trees are being proposed.
And they've all been mapped on there?
Yeah.
Individually?
Yeah.
With a legend?
If you recall, there was a significant portion of area of trees that had been removed by the previous property owner. So even in addition to showing the existing trees, I outlined, this is where the area of where previous trees were removed. So it's clear in that area. So that shows on this updated set.
There's also a significant amount of dead trees that are on the ground or standing there.
Yeah, we're merely needing what the engineer asked for.
Right.
And we've been waiting for a year or more for that, and the public hearing has been open, which is, all of this should have been prepared, before the public hearing was opened. And we were assured when we voted as a board to open the public hearing, that all of this information would have been provided, and it wasn't. And at the first hearing, there were people that showed up to see these things. And we've had another citizen that has shown up since, and nothing has been provided since.
No, I understand that. And
Right.
I have no control of that matter, and had no control of that matter.
Forgive me, but it is your application.
I don't understand.
Okay, I just to be clear, and I'm sorry that, that you were put in that position.
I apologize to the
Yeah,
board.
it is your application.
The other thing that was, I know approved prior to bring it around the side of the property. So no longer would be going through the property, it's going around the side. That was already taken care of by Dan, who spoke about it. It was on the plan prior to this as a single family, as a single lot. It was on there.
We're in a current,
This was all approved prior, but it was,
when it was a two-lot subdivision,
yes,
and then it became a single-lot subdivision.
yes, and but this
It got
was on there
unsimplified.
since it was a two-lot.
I understand, I understand.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like
never
some
approved-
clarification from the town attorney. Are we supposed to consider previous subdivisions, or are we supposed to consider the application as it is today?
As it is today, because field conditions can change, and this was, 19 years ago, this application came before this board. So, yeah, it can only consider present field conditions. And
So I appreciate that you might have had a previous approval in years past. Our job is to consider the application as it is today.
This is what Dan had been asking for quite a while for Mr. Gillespie, was the calculations for this, because it was going to remain there.
Because that's your new proposal for the current subdivision.
Right.
And he would need that, he would need that in this,
I guess there's a couple things, and I've been up here for a
Okay.
couple minutes, and I'd like to speak if I can. So, you took away my thunder a little bit. This project has taken way too long, and it has nothing to do with this board. It certainly has a lot to do with myself and the consultants that were involved in the project. And for that reason, the people showing the public hearing, I apologize to you and to them, okay? This did take way too long to get to this point. I was never informed that we had to show up tonight, myself, because the applicant was informed that he had to be here. I was planning on being here anyway with the new information that we had gotten regarding the edge of the wetlands. When there's 3 different wetlands and a couple different delineations and so forth, but, you know, this is what we ended up with at the end of the day, okay?
But Mike, if
but
I may...
But I was gonna come in...
If I may, all right. If you have a public hearing, you have to be here. Isn't that the case?
I would agree with that, yeah. And I know I sent a few letters at times, but yes, there should be representation because the public's certainly coming up, so...
Not should.
They should be there.
Representation needs to be here for the application to answer questions of the public and the board.
Understood.
So it has nothing to do with having received a letter or not, is my point.
Okay, no, I plan on being here anyway.
Okay.
Okay. So, long story short is, you know, it's taken too long. And, you know, if the board was looking to re-advertise or close the hearing and I mean, we could certainly do that to make sure we get everybody out there again. Okay, I understand that. This has just been puttering along month after month. It seems to me that based on the current information, if that's considered a stream or a water course, then that basically kills the project right down off the top.
We were concerned about that.
That's just the reality of it. Because, and what he's saying is that this used to be a 3-lot split, and lot 1 was split off, but there were 2 lots left. Okay, so and then that was consolidated into 1, right? So now we're going for a 2-lot split, basically the original it was. Well, the rules have changed.
No.
The rules have changed.
What-
Not on this point,
Mike,
but the
Mike,
regulations have changed.
Mike,
since the original
you
design.
were asked from the beginning, all right, from the very beginning, to plot the wetlands and the water course, at the very beginning.
Right.
So it's not okay for you now, a year later, at the expense of the applicant, to just, well, the project now is off the table.
Mr. Chairman, you're not...
All of that time
you're
has
not
gone
saying.
by, and you can't be flippant about it.
I'm not.
That is the biggest
You're not hearing what I'm
biggest
saying.
problem with what has occurred over a year. Why is it that he and we are finding that out now?
When he went forward with this, there was a discussion, which I was not involved with. He called up Dan, and may have been a sit down, and said, hey, you know what? It was split before, we'll split it again. So this is what we went with. This was the original White subdivision, going back 22 years. That's all I'm saying. And now we're here,
yeah.
okay?
So,
And the regulations were different then than they are now.
the regulations were different
Right.
20 years ago, right? When you came with this new proposal, this 2-lot subdivision,
Right.
I think the regulations were in place with
They were.
with the
No,
steep.
no question about it. I'm not saying
Right.
going back
And-
to that.
That was my evaluation.
No, that's fine.
Because this should have been addressed to all the new regulations right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Not bring up the old plans
Yeah.
and say, hey, I got my old plans again.
Yeah.
You know, I went to the zoning, that was approved, you know, the change with the intermittent stream, was, the version, Dan said he just did the calculations on it. It was never anything said that it was 1.2 years.
Well, we had asked, and this is from my memory at some past meetings, we had asked you, Mike, is that a water course?
I'm
Is
not-
that-
I can't-
And at
I
the
don't-
time, you had said, it's dry, we don't know, I'm just paraphrasing. It doesn't run, it may be seasonal, but it's not a water course, and that's what we were led to believe.
And I
Now,
was looking at
now-
that's going, we're gonna divert.
bottom line is, I'm here every meeting either way, so whatever the timing is, it is, but it's a water course. By definition of our code, simply because it's been mapped on that map that's specified in our code, it's considered a water course. We should determine that from day one. And what's happening this year is we're seeing the water running. So it's further demonstrating to us that it is a water course. As a water course,
Move the water course over, like it was originally planned.
well, all I'm saying is you're subject to the regulations of our code as it pertains to water courses.
And what is that?
Right, I mean, and I can't,
We're just moving the drainage ditch over.
right, I hear what you're saying, but there needs to be a 50-foot buffer in the water course. Whether you can move it or not, that's something we need to interpret in the code. I don't believe so. It's a sensitive ecological environment that supports wildlife habitat, ecological, biological activity. We have deemed it in our code as an important sensitive environmental feature. What we need you to do is follow the code. That's the important thing here.
What's your name again, sir? Roy. Whether that is possible or not, right, would have been determined before the public hearing, right? So your engineer would have, it's that simple. We were talking about this before. It may be possible, it may not. Rob may be, but that is not up to us to decide here.
So the process, just in terms of code requirement, the process is delineated in section 155-52 of the zoning code, which is our wetland, water body, and water course protection section of the zoning code. And the application process is subsection H of that section of the code. So obviously, the onus is on the applicant to provide this board with the information discussed in that process. And then subsection I delineates the standards for permit decisions that this board would have to make. So there's a number of, there's a relatively long list of things that would have to be shown. And one of the parts of that process was a public hearing. And that's why with the subdivision public hearing, that's why this was brought up, is that this could be a concurrent public hearing with regard to the subdivision as well. So that's why this was brought up about the water courses. And now that it's been identified, now the onus is on them to provide you with the information in accordance with the code so that you can make a decision in accordance with the code.
You're
Whether or
talking about
not.
the aquatic resource portion of it?
Yeah, it's a water resource permit.
Right.
So 155-52 delineates the whole thing.
We're not going to tell you how to design the subdivision. There may be a design solution to avoid the water course that allows you to have two lots. That's up to you and your engineer to figure out a way to come up with a concept that's acceptable to the board that will not have an impact to the water course or wetlands or steep slopes or any other environmental features that we are required to protect in our code.
When was this code, is this code new with this water course?
What is it?
2011.
When approved, it was still prior to,
It was the engineer just said it was 2011.
and that was prior to this.
Yes. Now, all of
Right.
the due diligence should have been done during the discussion phase of this application. And the proper information should have been supplied to us at that time.
Well, yeah, I think,
Well,
if
the
you,
water course was noted on the property 22 years ago whenever it was done originally.
But it's going, right now, it's going right through your project. Right through your, it's your septic fields, the house. From what we see, we can't tell.
From the original subdivision, it was always being diverted.
right,
Did anything change in the law? And I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be.
This law was added as part of the 2011 revisions.
About moving.
The zoning code was replaced in its entirety in 2011.
Was something
which was-
there at that time about
The
moving?
original approval of that subdivision was 2005. So it was our previous zoning code that approval was based on.
And the only thing I'm asking, get it clear, was the ability to move that intermittent stream. Was anything written into the new law about that specifically? Because that's what we're looking to do, it's the same thing that was on here in 2005.
Well, that's what 15552 addresses. It's wetland, water body, water course protection section of the zoning code now.
And that's changed? No, I'm saying that's.
I don't know the old zoning code.
Okay.
I think the water course, the steep slopes, wetlands, and that scenic, those were all new, were added to the code in 2011.
Some of the overlays.
Yeah, I don't remember there being a code for those environmental protections. These were added in 2011.
So this application is different than, physically, what they're requesting is different than what was approved in 2005?
Not at all.
No, it's pretty similar.
Identical.
Then why are we here?
Because the zoning code changed.
The lots,
The code
the lots
changed.
were consolidated.
Is there, if you receive an approval for something, how long a term is it before you have to enact on that approval?
Well, what happened in the interim was the subdivision was abandoned and the former two lots merged into one. And they're coming back before us to subdivide again.
So this is really a.
The previous
So what-
owner submitted a lot consolidation request, which is a process through the Dutchess
Right.
County Clerk. So they took the two lots that were created in 2005. After a certain amount of time passes, 5 years, I believe, is the requirement. You can take those lots and consolidate them back into one, and the previous owner had decided to do that, and then sold that one property, I guess, to you.
To Roy.
With the previous.
And now they're saying, we want to go and subdivide that back again.
Right, okay, so
It's subject to the process again.
the five, but if, just so that I understand, if they had not, if the previous owner had not consolidated the two lots,
Yeah, they were.
and it was still a
Individual
two-lot
tax lots.
subdivision,
Would have been fine.
it would be fine, these people would not have to be here, is that correct?
I suppose, I mean, they'd have to go to the,
Building department.
building department for approval, and then the code may still require, based on steep slopes and other things, that are now within the zoning code, it would get referred back to this planning board, I'm quite sure.
But that would be at the onus of the code enforcement or the building department.
Right, yeah, a building permit application would be submitted, and then she would have to take a look at the content of that and the property and make a decision of whether or not
What
or-
provision allows someone to change the intermittent water course? I mean, what avenues do you have to take in order to do that?
So that's part of what's delineated in 155-52. And so there's standards for you to determine if they're acceptable to you for alterations of wetlands or water bodies and water
Talking about
courses.
the board,
Yes.
okay. All right. We haven't done that.
No.
Well, we have them on paper, and Mike says he does have calculations now. So that would be something you guys would be able to decide on.
We're in the middle of a public hearing right now.
So, but also, all of this information and the alteration of the water course, if it was going to be altered, should have been submitted in the original submittal prior to the public hearing. Is that correct?
We've been adjourning it for a year.
What, I don't remember the specific day that this board said you can go to the subdivision public hearing, but we did note in our review letter that there was an NWI wetland shown on the mapping. And NWI wetland mapping is an indication of the potential for wetland in that particular area. So
Dan, what-
as the process went, we said we need the wetlands to be flagged, delineated, and surveyed, and shown to the board.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying, I'm just asking that all of this information should have been submitted to the board prior to a public hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
In other words, and I'm
would've
not
made the
looking at
process
just
easier,
this,
yeah.
I'm looking at the future,
Yeah.
so that we don't have this situation in the future.
And I think just having a couple other projects before this board as well, I think the board has moved toward that because the plans have to be much tighter and so forth. And I think before this board moves to a public hearing, but that wasn't the way it was at that time.
Right.
But I want to make it clear, I didn't delineate the wetlands. I'm not the one, the consultant on our end that does that. I wasn't saying that there nothing exists and we're okay. I mean, that was always defined that there was something that was always shown on our plan. But there was a public hearing set anyway, so.
So where do we go?
At some point, we have to open the public hearing, I think, no? Right?
Yeah, let's,
So I think we've shared everything we could with the public and with the applicant. So a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Please, if there's anyone from the public that would like to comment, please state your name and your address. Hi, Mr. Crane.
Bill Crane, 254 Gardner Hollow Road. June 16th to today is 22 months. 22 months since the first public hearing to today. A lot of those I came to speak and see if the concerns were being addressed. I said nobody showed up. So I don't, whether they should have been discussed before the public hearings began or not, they could have been discussed during the public hearings because there was a lot of open concerns that were just not addressed, and there was nothing. It's just saying that the applicant didn't show up. The board has been, in my opinion, very generous in going forward. But now we hear that some of the trees are, last I heard, there's 80-some undefined number of trees that were going to go and replaced by 4. Peter wanted to readjust them.
the trees, the 4 trees or something, he asked for them at the time, that was the last I heard. So now we hear some are dead trees, we have no specific number. Dead trees can hold soil as long as the roots are in there. They, according to DEC, they can, they're also wildlife habitats. I mostly want to speak for the environment, that the plant is on steep slopes. It's a problem. It has a ditch, wetlands on it, and it has many trees that would have to go. The trees hold soil. You run the possibility of mudslides and so on is great. The water is getting greater every year. The trees are home to wildlife, and it's with these three serious environmental impacts. The cutting of many trees, the steep slopes, and the water course. You got 3 serious environmental impacts. I'm just been here because I'm concerned about preserving our natural environment and the wildlife that live there, and the waters that keep the drinking clean and so on. I don't know how this project. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Crane. Thank you. Anyone else from the public interested in speaking? Okay. All right. Motion to close the public hearing? Or adjourn it? Or where are we at?
Before you adjourn it, let's identify what we're adjourning it for.
Okay.
And with the assistance of Dan.
Well, as I stated before, the water resource permit section of this would require a public hearing. So we just parlay this public hearing into that public hearing. Mike would have to go through 155-52, provide you with all the things that are listed in here. There's just a checklist of things that have to be provided to you so you can make a decision. And that should be part of the public review as well.
Okay. Now,
Could it be a special meeting? Not special, excuse me. Can it be a separate meeting from this public hearing?
It has to be a new public hearing, right?
with new announcements, because that's the issue we have here.
It's
At the end of the day,
that could
the
be up
drawings are going to change.
That could be up to you, I suppose. I mean, the thought this whole time was that there might be a water resource permit associated with this project.
Right.
And that public hearing could be run concurrent with the subdivision public hearing. So that point has been made umpteen times so far. But it's really up to you. If you think it's more fair to, re-notify neighbors again to give them a fresh look. I think that's, there's an appropriateness to that.
So, but
I'd like to know what Roy wants to do at this point, what your intention is. I mean, everything's going to change, right?
I don't know what's going to change at this point. This is all new to me that this water course can't be moved.
Nobody said that.
No, I'm saying it's all new to me that coming to light that we need to dig deeper into it.
Right.
I thought we had it just flagged and,
Now that it's been flagged, we know.
well, what do we do to it? Intermittent stream.
What's that?
We've always known that there was an intermittent stream there during the rain event. We've always known that. I mean,
So the water resource permit should have been.
The highway department.
So the water resource permit should have been submitted
And
then.
everything else, and they knew about how it was going to be diverted, and we had a whole plan put together with the highway department. We've gone through all this. I didn't think there was ever going to be an issue with that. We were worried about the wetlands, how big they were, that was an issue.
There's two things. So there's the town portion of it, and then if you fill over, a 1/10 of an acre or whatnot, you might have to get Army Corps permitting as well. So it depends. Now that we know where this is, we have to know how much of this is getting filled.
Yeah, and I'll get something more defined again. I didn't delineate the wetland,
Right.
but our consultant did, and he's determined that this wasn't core, NIL or anybody, because of its perimeter, its intermittent nature and so forth, I'll get that information to you. I think that's on the table. But if we were just looking at it, and from a size perspective, as a wetland, there is a wetland out there. It's just below the threshold where the town gets above. So that,
Put on the
I think
record.
the wetland issue is kind of off to the side, but comes out this definition of this coming down here as a water course.
We don't have clear plans to present to anybody, and it's going to be 2 years soon, all right? According to Mr. Crane's calculations.
I'm not gonna, ask you to do something that's against your process. Listen.
Is it your intention to move forward with this application? It's been 2 years.
Yeah, it's paid for.
It's paid for.
Yeah.
Our hearts bleed for you when it comes to that kind of problem, but we need to know what your intentions are.
My intention is to move forward. My intention is to move forward.
Okay, so if we close the public hearing, that doesn't preclude us from opening another one in the future?
Well, he's saying
I'm
that
asking
you,
these guys, let me just ask.
You would have to re-advertise if you closed it.
Yeah, that's,
We can
But-
adjourn it to address
So if you
this.
keep it open, and
we're just avoiding them from sending a mailer out? I think I'd prefer to freshen up with a mailer. This way, at this point, the only one who comes to the meetings is this one fella, and I think we need to close it so that we can get the correct information we need to inform the decision. It looks like there's going to need to be modifications to the plans. That's going to need to be reviewed in a future public hearing. Plus, there's this permit, this water resources permit, which has to be a public hearing. So I'm thinking we need to close the public hearing. These guys need to revisit the plan based on the information that we've recognized there's a water course there. He needs to give us the rest of the information that's required to, so that we can make a decision, and then we can open up a new meeting in the future. And if the worst case scenario is if they have to send out another, re-advertise it, I don't see why that's such a
yeah,
bad
but,
thing.
all right. Here's the other thing the board has to consider, though, is if you've closed the public hearing, you're actually starting the shot clock.
right.
And you got to be careful there. So if you really want to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, keep the public hearing open and order the applicant to re-advertise for the purpose that, you just laid out on the record. That way you don't run afoul of any issues
Or,
there.
excuse me, or else we ask the applicant to withdraw the application. All the information is here.
All right.
I don't want to get in the business of asking them what to do with their
Let me
application.
finish, all right? My understanding is that right now this application and the public hearing is in relation to the overall project, the subdivision of the 2 lots. Okay, within that, because of this water course or intermittent stream or whatever is required, there is a separate, it can be concurrent, but there is a separate public hearing required in regards to that water course. Am I correct?
It requires a public hearing, yes.
And how does that affect the shot clock? Now,
Well, you're doing
You're
two,
doing all of this concurrently.
Right, you're adjourning, and then with the...
well, what if we approve the overall project? And then it would still be it would still be
Make a secret
subject,
determination and all that too.
huh?
You don't
You have
have
to make
enough.
secret determination and all that as well. And if the information's gonna change, then your secret determination has to change.
You don't have a complete
On the
record.
water court because of what
Yeah.
might come up
If
during
the
the
board
public hearing.
deems that the water
Right.
resources that are being affected are significant impact, then sure, of course.
what would be the least impactful decision to the applicant? Can we adjourn without setting a date until we have documentation, and then they re-advertise, and then we set a date, or?
Don't you ask.
Yeah, I mean, the next submittal deadline is April 29th, so it's only a week and a couple days, business days.
So I really don't want to meet again on this application until everything has been supplied.
That's right.
I mean, and
Well,
I don't want the
You can
public.
direct, right. Let's get a realistic timeline as to,
Adjourn it
you know,
until they're ready to come.
when
in.
all of this paperwork and
Proper information.
the application can be completed before you.
Faye is stating that she feels that this should be adjourned until
Until the time that they have the proper information to set a public hearing to address the water course issue. Period.
In reality, Mike, how long is this gonna take for what you have to do?
Well, in terms of what you have, you haven't seen what's here, but one of the things we have to do is we have to sit down and go through that section of that water course and see what it entails. I mean, we gotta go through that step by step. I mean, if there's work there, or how we're gonna address each one of those. You know?
Well, it's pretty
I
much
can't say it could be a month,
interpretation.
it could be 3 days. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, I think we can meet next week and run through it with the assumption that if we can get it in on time.
Okay, if we adjourn
get it for next month.
But you don't know that at this point.
There's no gravity to work. We
don't care if we don't have the money.
So I think if we leave it open, with the idea that, you know, until they're ready to go to public hearing on the water course issue, and that way it leaves it open, no?
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing is the public, I'm general
And we can
compliance.
require that they send out notification as part of that.
When they're ready to.
they would have to.
And if you don't adjourn it to a date specific, you would have to re-advertise.
Right, and that's what I would think would be fair.
Right.
Okay.
Without setting a specific date.
Correct,
Yeah, I
correct.
agree.
Roy?
So you can instruct the
You gotta
board.
feel the best way to go about it.
And at that time, the application will be complete, and the plans will be complete.
Right, or we don't go forward.
And that gives you the flexibility of
Dan's
working.
gonna have to just tell me when they're complete. I mean, he's the one that's gonna be receiving them.
He just has to receive them.
Yes.
Yeah, but I just want to be clear, when I read that section, this isn't like, you know, put a north arrow on the drawing, make sure there's a title block. These are a set of standards that Mike, your engineer has to come up with a new, has to modify the design. And when
See if we can meet them.
when he shows, you have to see if you can meet those standards.
I get it. That's why.
And we judge whether he meets those standards.
All right. So I think we're in agreement here. If, Fay, could you make the motion, please?
Yeah, but what date would you specifically adjourn to?
Adjourn
Is
it?
it-
Say
Well, I
no
think-
date, and then when it's ready,
Can we leave
they'll
it at
have to
no date?
re-advertise.
Is there a deadline for,
It would be,
If you'll,
you have to adjourn to a specific day, so
I
you can adjourn to the June meeting if you.
Yeah, I mean, that gives them a month.
Month
Month and a
What's the
half.
June meeting date? It's a third.
Unless you adjourn to a
It's an August meeting.
June 20th.
Mike says he can get it to you by the next other day, a week from Monday.
At least I'll have a reply to you relative to that section to see if we can
Yeah,
meet that
and
standard.
doesn't give you enough time to comment.
And then if we have to, we adjourn it
Just
again.
do June
I'd
20th.
like to do that.
okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn this public hearing until the May, what date is that?
May is 16th.
May 16th meeting, at which time there will be information addressing the watercourse issue, as well as a public notification. Then you wouldn't have time to do that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're adjourning the hearing, so
Oh, okay, you don't have to have it
for
next,
that, but yeah, if you want to do a separate one, if you feel you need another one for the water courses, just to kind of get everybody.
I feel like,
notified again.
I feel like the process should be, you adjourn it to the next month.
and then we'll.
If at the next month, when we're not satisfied with the level of information, we continue to adjourn it.
Okay, all right.
And then when we get to the point where we're satisfied with the information, then we ask them we'll adjourn it to that next meeting, and then they,
Advertise for, okay. All right, so you got my motion? Good.
think so.
So it's just simple, you're just adjourning to the
Yes.
next...
We're just adjourning
After an hour.
Turning public hearing
to the 16th.
May 16th,
Yeah.
and ordering the applicant to comply with the water resource permit.
Right.
Among,
standards.
I mean, the water resources in particular, among any other issues that we have with the plan, or any other past notes and issues.
Dan, what other items are needed? Do you have an idea at this point, other than?
I don't even remember.
You wanna make
Last
your letter out?
was, there was a letter issued June 13th of 2023.
We'll
So you-
provide a comprehensive response to each one of those.
All right, and then we'll have more, we'll have what we need to make a better decision then, all right? And you're both going to show up to the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Great. All right, so we have a motion to adjourn. Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay,
Thank you, gentlemen.
have a good night. Thank you. All right. Okay. Is it all
Oh, hey,
So, Pizzuto,
excuse me. Concerning this, they have flags up there on the road. Is that supposed to delineate the driveway entrance?
I think that they put some there, but it's right by a telephone pole, the driveway.
Yeah, I think they said they were gonna do that once, right?
Yeah.
Well,
think they
left.
said they were-
They just left the
Yeah.
building.
Now, is that to delineate the driveway entrance?
There was, I thought there was maybe some white flags or something that were.
There are.
Near the utility pole.
Yes, but there's
That's
my
supposed to
point.
be that's supposed to be the driveway, yeah.
That doesn't meet driveway requirements.
Well, they just left, so.
so let's move on to the next item. Pizzuto lot line, is there anybody here representing Pizzuto? No? Okay. They're adjourning because they still haven't heard from the agency,
The DEC.
the
correct.
DEC?
They sent a letter saying that they have not heard from the DEC yet.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn
Okay,
this until May 16th?
May 16th. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And the next item on the agenda for discussion, Reichterman, lot line. Hi. How are you?
Whoa, sorry.
Ricker, what
Did
do
the
you say
flag hit the
Lockerman
ground?
for?
Give us 1 second.
I want to be able
Our
to...
AV specialist is making some adjustments.
I want...
Just
I
give us
just-
1
Yeah,
second.
sorry.
It's okay.
I just want to be able to view it on my...
Here, let's grab that flag before it's...
All right, Rob?
Oh, there we go.
There it is. I didn't even know what was going on here. You mean I could do that? I'm not gonna do what you did. How do we do it?
You gotta plug that wire in on the left.
Hello,
There we
Chris.
go.
Hello. Hi.
Just 1 second.
You're doing good.
It's still not working. Okay.
Who, Faye? Definitely.
Can't get rid of me.
Okay. All right. You were introducing yourself.
Yes, Christian Rickerman,
Hi.
here for this lot line realignment. And I just received Dan's letter late yesterday afternoon. So my consultant, Jonathan Millen, he has received it and is addressing the concerns and stuff that Dan suggested that we put on. To have that back to, have that taken care of.
Can you give us a little description of what this is about?
Yeah, basically, I'm also the owner of Frog Hollow Development. I know that was a little clarification you needed there. So basically,
That's the Frog Hollow East and West? Is that? Yeah,
Correct.
right.
Yeah. well, Frog
No,
Hollow, you
not
know,
Grape Hollow.
Okay,
we
right,
had purchased
right,
this
right.
property back in 1987, so we've done a lot of work with the plans over the years and developed the Orr Estates, which is Flagler Road. And so a lot of the property on the east side has been already developed. And so basically I have a primary residence that's shaded in blue there, the 110 Beekman Road, which has a lot line encroachment through a carriage barn, detached garage that I had built on that property. That now needs to be, you know, legally fit on that parcel. So I need to, I own the land that adjoins it, my business owns it, and I'm just, you know, coming from the board to go through the process of getting that lot line readjusted so that I have proper setbacks.
Chris, you said in blue is where,
That's my primary residence. That's where I reside.
Where's Green Haven Road on that map?
This application.
And this map, Green Haven Road runs right here at the bottom of the, right line, right at the bottom of the,
Okay.
so the,
Green Haven Road, the north side.
Oh, it's on the right-hand side.
Chris, what's in the green?
That's where that, we did that big development, not development.
The green is the actual
Massage
lot
park,
definition right now, and
Nordic
blue is what I'm looking to add to that lot. I'm looking to add 1.3 acres approximately, or 1.37 acres. So the blue, shaded in blue, is what I'm looking to take from parcel 2.
Oh, okay.
Which was, I did see in there that Dan noted that was a future section 2 of Orr Estates. So there was a continuation of Flagler Road, which we withdrew our application back in 2002 or 2000. You know, we
that stream?
through that application, and turned that back into just open crop and field lot.
Right. So actually, okay, I understand what you're
So
doing.
I'm just looking to,
Yep.
really, I just need to get my carriage house on
Your land.
my land, so, you know, I have the ability to sell this property.
Okay. That's this piece.
Right.
And I know that I'm asking for a lot of waivers, as far as, you know, Dan had stated in the letter to you that, you know, that my consultant had requested the waivers of the trees and the bats and the turtles. And, you know, I just would hope that you could consider that, because there's really no change taking place to this, aside from just adding raw land to
Right.
the approved lot that I reside on.
And how many acres are you adding?
I'm adding 1.3.
1.3721, very precise.
1.3721 acres. I'm
Okay.
taking that from a 16-acre parcel. So my 16-acre parcel is going down to, 13.
See, here's this isn't.
Actually,
Where's that? Yeah.
going down to 14.3.
He owns this too.
538.
So what you're doing really, Chris, is just trying to add it, correct it so that the buildings that you constructed there or whatever
Right, well,
meet the proper
it's
setback.
like, just back in the early 2000s, one of my barns collapsed to the snow load, and I was able to rebuild, so I had to move the barn on my property somewhere, but unfortunately, it was on the lot line, and they didn't notice that. And, that carriage house has been fully built, and I have a CO on it. The town, I have a building permit for it, and the CO was issued, and it is, it's all completed.
Dan, what comments did you have on this?
A lot of little, tiny little housekeeping things, and really, I think the thing that was the most concerning in terms of process, we can't have applications move forward if there's a violation, so the reason I mentioned our comment number 8 is because the surveyor's map says
The carriage house.
that there's an accessory apartment in the front.
Right, there is a dwelling in the front by the barns that were always on the property. There is what is a caretaker's cottage that was, there when I bought the property.
And what is it used for now? Just empty building?
No, it's.
So it doesn't have a
caretaker.
certificate of occupancy?
The caretaker cottage is a small one-bedroom little.
What's the violation?
It was a shack, it was a dwelling back in 1987 when we took possession of the land. And the barns are the foundations are approximately 200 years old, those barns. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yes, I am.
The
Yep.
Bob Orr
Yes.
property there.
Yep,
that was-
yep.
So those barns, have a lot of value, aesthetics to the property, and, I actually lived in that dwelling when I first was 20 years old, I lived on the property.
So the filed map showed that as a section of barn to be removed. It didn't show it as an apartment. So we would need information as to the septic and all that.
As far as.
It's not in the town of Beekman, you can't have 2 principal uses on one lot.
I understand
So,
that.
and then accessory apartments cannot be detached from the primary. So there's an issue there that's gonna have to be cleared up somehow.
Right, I know that, there is really no possibility of doing a 2-lot subdivision, making it its own lot. I really can't foresee doing that there, and also, if at all possible, is there a land use variance that we could look at, perhaps, with that?
You'd be taking on,
Existing?
you'd be taking a non-conforming use and adding to this present lot. You'd have to now have a conforming use as a result. And for the reasons that Dan just stated, you have 2 residences on one lot as a result, and that's not gonna work.
Got a question. Excuse me, Chris. A question on this regarding going back to Frog Hollow and the road.
Right.
And that what's the name of the property owner that we just had?
Camco.
Who?
Camco.
No, Pizzuto or whatever it is?
Pizzuto lot line, yeah.
Pizzuto, huh? Okay, so my question is on that property, on Pizzuto property, there was a trailer in front of the principal residence. Now, the land that trailer is on, was that a separate parcel than the principal residence.
In its current state, I would say no, but they were correcting that issue with their subdivision.
Okay, so when they were before the board to build the house and back, the board gave approval, apparently, to build the house and back with that structure in the front on the same parcel.
I couldn't answer that.
Well, I can answer that because I remember it.
The subdivision's still.
And that was listed as a caretaker property. So what I'm suggesting is that a precedent has been established by the board in the past. And the board, I think, should consider that precedence in its relationship to this piece of property that Rickerman has. And in both cases, the parcel in front really does not appear to have a large impact. So I'm saying that I don't think that we should beat on the fact that he has a caretaker cottage in front, where in the past we've approved where there's been a caretaker cottage in the front of the property.
The old filed map for that one, I'm pulling it up right now, it does not show any caretaker house or house on that lot.
There was a trailer there.
It was lot 2 of filed map 11679,
When was the file?
2004. So I can't say with certainty that that's the case here. We'd have to go back and look at, aerial photos or whatever else and building permits and see what dates everything was done to understand that.
I have a question. The, next to the two-story residence, there's an, what do you call it, roof overhang, carport, two-story carriage house. So you have the two-story carriage house there,
Correct.
next to your big house, and then up front, there's another house that you said has a rental in it.
Down here.
That's that one.
Yeah, these are the barn structures on this property. This property used to entail, all this land, all this land was like 80 acres.
Yeah.
So this was the four-family, this is the four-family apartment house that was owned that I just recently sold. And that was all this house was that, the barnyard there was for that main house.
Okay.
And that's why there's a dwelling on there. I mean, there's an
That's
old
fine.
well that goes to that
So
dwelling.
is there a dwelling in the other carriage house up by the main house?
No,
So you only
no,
have,
it's just primarily just a garage.
oh, I see. All right, so,
So there is no tenant anywhere?
no, the tenant's in the bottom.
There's a caretaker that lives down here by the barnyard, down in the old structure, the old original structure on that property.
And is that where the violation is, Dan?
And when I built my house in 2000, that structure was there.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it was listed as a barn on the filed map from 1999.
All right, so can I make a suggestion?
Do you have
here?
an ag extension on it?
This property here today.
Okay, all right.
So how do we get, I don't have a big objection to how he's operating this property. I want to figure out a way for him to be able to, for this to work. So he would have to apply for an accessory use permit for the rental on the one house.
To make it
And
legal.
because it's a non-conforming use, can he go, and you actually alluded to it earlier, can he go for a variance for an accessory use permit and get that variance from the zoning board, then come back to us and we approve the accessory use permit? Is that
It's a nice option.
a good path for him to get that approved? He claimed a hardship.
Yeah.
His hardship was it was a pre-existing condition since before the accessory use laws or the accessory apartment law came in.
Yeah, we've had an accessory apartment law since before 1999, so somebody would have to look at what the rules were then. I've asked the building department to give me any permits that they might have, see of those for residential habitable spaces on the property. She hasn't found any for that yet, but it's only been a day of her looking. So,
I feel like that would be the path for you to legalize that, and while you're doing this, is to go for a variance from our zoning board to allow you to have the apartment in that house. And then presumably he's applying for the accessory use what's that section of the law?
It's 155-58 is the regulations for non-conforming buildings, lots, and uses. So if you want to look up the code and give that to your engineer, it's 155-58.
and accessory apartment is 155-25.
Dash 25?
Yeah.
And I'd be willing to make a motion that we
Positively refer.
we'd make a positive referral to the
I'll second
zoning
that.
board
Yeah.
that we're in support of this application.
Let's figure out whether or not this can be done by a simple lot line adjustment, or it may have to be done by a subdivision to create a conforming lot, that middle lot. So
Which I don't think they can get 135,000 square feet there with, what is it, 213 foot of frontage there? Or width?
This lot?
No, the blue might,
To make a new lot from there.
the blue lot might have to be created as a conforming lot. I
Well,
don't know.
That's not what I'm suggesting, I mean, that's another alternative.
Yeah.
And you should consider that. and
I have
just
to
maybe
admit
to divide that out. You sound like you know what you're doing, and you probably already have considered that.
Divide the property.
Right.
You know, I will abolish that accessory apartment, before I will just consider, you
Yeah.
know, dividing that property up. The property it's aesthetically set the way it is because, you know, it is an old farm piece of property.
Yeah.
And the barns are under restoration now with New York State, and I'm working with them to, you know, preserve the barns. That's good.
Very nice.
You know, originally I tried to put a dwelling in the barns, and I was shut down because of the flood zone. And, you know, nobody had ever mentioned anything to me about, you know, the pre-existing dwelling that was there, you know. I mean, there was water to it, there was electric to it, there was, you know, the sewer, the SDS system was there. So basically, I just, you know, I ran with it. And I built, you know, when I was shut down building the barn, reconstructing the barn is when I built the primary residence higher back on the property out of the flood zone to get health department approval. And I got the building permit to do that. I had a subdivision done by, you know, an engineer back in 2000, and it created that lot out of the land from Frog Hollow Development that owned that land. So
Yeah, and that map, which you did sign, was 1999, and it does not show that as a living space. It shows as existing barn section to remain, and it doesn't show a septic for it either. So that's why we have to get to the bottom of
Right.
when that
well,
was
that was
converted
done by
to
Hayward and Bacon, and you know, I'm sure. You know, I don't know if it was overlooked or it was unoccupied at the time. I mean, I was actually the one that was living in it at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
You just got to try to get to the bottom of the paper trail for it. I mean, it could be that it is legal, non-conforming or whatnot, so we just have to understand when permits were issued certificates of occupancy
And
and
I think
whatnot.
it was
And then,
all, I think it was there before zoning, but, you know, we can look into that more. As far as this drainage easement that was also noted on your letter, what do you exactly mean?
just the documentation of the drainage easement.
Yeah, that
just
was
so we-
created back when there was future development from the Ora Estates,
The section 2.
Section 2. That was created there for the relief of stormwater management from that lot, from that parcel of land.
And who is responsible for maintaining it?
Some history there.
The easement?
Yeah.
Well,
That would be in the easement document. If you can just get me that.
See,
that would be
that
helpful.
is, you know, that was going to be, you know, a town, you know, it would have been dedicated to the town as an easement, except that, you know, that application got withdrawn. So really, that easement now is really null and void because the application's been withdrawn.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was never even filed for all I know. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, and
the
the map,
surveyor
and
picked
the
it
map
up.
was withdrawn too, so there was no map filed for that section 2.
Yeah.
You know, I do have future plans of developing that property once this lot line realignment has been satisfied. I'm going to go in there with a plan submitted to you for
Right.
a 5-lot, you know, subdivision up there, which will be a private road. It's going to be a private community. So I don't know where that'll go as far as that easement will be brought back up again. I'm sure it probably will. But that's in the future, so. But I'll dig into that and see if I can find any
Yeah.
paperwork on that. And as far as the deeds go, the 2 parcels, they'll be submitted to the town attorney.
Yeah. It's just requirement in our code for
My
proof
consultant has
I
those.
remember, yeah.
He has those before he even started this lot line.
At some point,
Probably.
yeah, when the lots are configured, we're gonna need meets and bounds for all 3.
Sure.
It'll be 2.
No,
It's a transfer of land from one property to the other, so it's will be
Right,
2 at the end.
but you're gonna need 3 meets and bounds.
That part of it can be cut and dried.
Yeah.
Right now, you're motion to go off to the zoning board.
Well,
Yes.
I'm recommending that you go to the zoning board. I was just wondering if that's a plausible strategy. If you think that's a dead end, we should let them know right away, but
I mean, if
Right.
you think that's a dead end, then I would just assume terminate that structure.
That'll make
I don't wish that you do. I'm trying to figure out a way, and I think you should go to the zoning board and get a variance.
They said it may be non-conforming.
I mean, it's
That's
like,
why you go to the
it's
zoning
like,
board,
you
because it's
know,
No, prior
the
to
person
what?
living there does take care of the grounds.
Both the engineer and the attorney feel that would be your path of least resistance.
It's a much easier path.
Yeah, I think then that's the way I'm gonna look to go, because I can't really stall this thing out, and I don't wanna stall this thing out due to a divorce settlement. I have to move forward pretty quickly on this lot line realignment to get this legal, these 2 parcels legal for sale.
Okay.
So, I'll act on that, immediately, and we'll go. Forward from there, and so as far as, considering any of the waivers that, have been addressed in the letters and
I'm sorry, there was feedback. What was that last sentence?
what I need to know as far as what's going to be offered as waiving on these other.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you were to come back for the next month with the plan that says that you're abandoning the accessory apartment,
Right.
I think there's a number of things we could do tonight. We could first off deem this action a type 2 in accordance with State Environmental Quality Review Act. They could consider all those waivers that are mentioned in my letter, which I can go through again. And being that there wouldn't be this issue with the accessory apartment anymore, you could also consider setting a public hearing for next month. So then he can make a lot of progress in terms of planning process.
You know, I have to go as far as, you know, the most quick and efficient way to resolve this matter.
Okay.
Sure,
So-
we'll try to move you.
Yeah.
All right, I'd be willing to consider these waivers. I see them in your, simply because it's just a lot line adjustment. There's no physical change to the property.
Correct.
I don't see any problem with, if you want to go through the waivers, that's fine, but
Yeah,
I
I'll
read
just
them.
mention them just for the record. It's 130-12E, which has to do with showing topography. 130-12F, which has to do with showing soils information. 130-12H, which is trees 12-inch and greater DBH. 130-18F12, which is another topography requirement. 130-20A2, which is yet another topography requirement. And then 130-20A6, which is trees 8 inches and greater diameter. There was a number of things in here. I mentioned that they could ask for a future additional waiver at the next meeting if they wanted to. They have to do that formally for us to consider it. That's not what was shown on this particular application right now. But the other thing is that they're just going to address some of those things, which is a relatively easy list of things to show. So those are the 6 waivers that were requested with this particular application as of now. And again, just because there's no actual physical development going on at the site, I would not object to endorsing that.
I'll make a motion to grant those waivers.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then in terms of seeker, it's a simple lot line realignment, which falls under type 2. So you just deem the action type 2 and conclude the seeker process.
I make a motion to deem this a type 2 action,
Secret action.
seeker action.
I'll second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And
Okay,
schedule
and
the
then
public hearing?
schedule a public hearing in anticipation that the accessory apartment is going to be removed.
Abolished, right.
What kind of timeframe do I have on that?
It can be a condition of the approval for the,
For final approval?
yeah.
Great.
Wait a minute.
So we're going to schedule the
Yeah.
public hearing. You want it for May 16th?
That would be very helpful, yeah, and I'll make sure I address have my consultant there can get back with Dan on the,
And the mailings, yeah.
Right. The mailings now, are you gonna supply the mailings, the addresses for I'll be able to pick that up from you, or you'll email those to me?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll send those out and notify the perimeter parcels and the advertisement.
Yeah, it's all within 250 feet of
Right.
both properties.
Right. Adjacent road, across this road also, right?
Yeah, the 250 heads it, yeah.
There's 25 residences?
I'm sorry?
There's 25?
Oh, 250 feet.
I think
So
there's
within-
25.
Oh, I don't know how many,
Yeah.
I don't know how many there are. Well, this can be populated from parcel access pretty easy.
Okay, so I'll wait to get that from you and I'll get those mailings out. Okay.
All right. So can I have a motion to schedule the public hearing for May 16th?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Very good. Good luck. Thank you. It was nice meeting you. Yep.
Thanks, Chris.
Library.
Hey, Chris, tell Mom I said hello, will
Yeah. How's she doing? Good?
you? Good.
I'm just going to use the bathroom.
You should have brought her.
Next one.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Still here for the public hearing.
Oh, good.
All right.
Her opinion, yeah.
Take care.
That must be his son.
Yes, must be. You must be, yeah.
I don't want to, what is,
Nice kid.
it's a shame.
Did his father die? Yeah.
You know, there was no obituary.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Can I just make a comment? The
Can you-
chair went by
Can
me
you
and
hold
said...
on 1 second till he comes back?
No, I want to make a comment what the chair just told me. On the record.
Who
He
said-
walked by me, John, and he
John.
looked at me and smiled and said, I don't know, he says, every time I see you, I have to urinate.
Have what?
So, I'm sorry, that's the record.
He said what?
Every time he sees Peter, he has to urinate.
I'm telling you. It's crazy. I know, Peter, it's so funny. Right?
No.
I lived here 45 years of my life,
You know,
and I've sat at that board for 12 years as a town board elected official, and have somebody that's appointed walk by and say something like that. Hey, you can have your seat.
Did I miss something?
Yeah, you did, like you told. John,
That's because of the,
Any
that was,
conversation, I don't find humor when you say.
well, you know what, Pete? You're not funny either, all right? Because the last time you were here, you threatened this man,
People like that,
all right?
great, like-
Yes, you do, on multiple occasions, all
You
right?
know what? You should be excused right now. I'm gonna go in front of this board.
Yeah, that's all right. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You know what? Last time you were here,
That's enough.
last
That's
time
enough.
you were here, you
Guys,
threatened
that's
this man.
enough. That's enough.
Gentlemen,
Just go ahead.
Take it down.
Present your application.
let's
Go
show
ahead.
some decorum here.
But if it,
Make sure you don't threaten anybody this time, okay?
Who the heck, you are the one that threatens me.
No. You said very clearly, last time you were here, you challenged this man.
I've been in front of this board with you as the chair.
All right,
why?
go
You
ahead.
tell me you have to urinate every time you see me. Thank you, I appreciate
All
it.
of this.
Because of the tension you bring to every single meeting we have here. So let's see how this one goes. It's already started off nicely.
I thought he got a...
Make sure
Not
you
yet.
don't challenge any board member,
Yeah.
This
all right?
was on
Why don't you just
the,
look at me and say, hey, Pete, how are you tonight?
Farm
It's nice to
market.
see you.
You know what? Because,
Yeah.
like I said, every time you come before the board, you have something nasty to say, all right? Your behavior is always bizarre, and you threatened this man at the last meeting, all right? Yes, you did. Watch the videotape, all right? That's a threat.
But I didn't threaten anybody. I'm standing right here, you walk by me, you say the great things. I'm just a resident.
all right,
Yeah, you're just a resident, so go ahead and present.
I'm gonna have to insist that we either start the presentation or we adjourn the
And
meeting.
come back with the information with the deeds and that sort of thing, bro.
Joseph Berger,
Yeah, he's just here.
tonight. It's been a while trying to get the art collages taken care of. That was the longest thing. We finally got that done. At the conclusion,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Could you say that? Yeah.
we need to do archaeological study, as you're aware. It took a long time, because that's what it does. Once it's done, you still have to present it to SHPO for consideration. That took another 3 months. We couldn't come back to this board or to your engineer with the final comments until we got a letter of no impact. Right, Ken? So once we got the letter and no impact, which was recent, we summarized our comments, submitted it back to Dan for review, which we just got his comment letter, it's fine, we can work on that. But time-wise, we need an extension now. The extension is mainly due to the fact that it took us, I'd have to estimate at least 8 months with SHPO. 6 or 7 months to get the person out there to do the dig, the evaluation report. Then once they found no impact on the site, it still has to go to SHPO for them to agree to it. So it's just not the report you get, you actually end up with what's called a no impact letter, which we have, and we presented it to the board. Now there are some minor things that your engineer has found that he wants us to address, which we will, which we feel are minor. We're just here tonight respectfully asking for a chance to do that and asking for whatever extension, 6-month extension if you can, to allow us to pursue it. Remembering the steps down that need to be done is we need to present back these to your engineer. Once he says everything's fine, We then have to go back to the health department because they don't want to look at it for their final review until the town is done. Otherwise, we have two tracks going at the same time, two different sets of drawings. So we have a final review acceptance from the health department. But there have been changes on there which will be done based on this, which will make it slightly different than what they saw last. So even though there won't be any changes to their health department, with respect to them, they need a new set of plans and identify those changes so they can concur that there were no changes in what they said was okay. Once that's done, and we know that it was okay from this board, and we know it's okay with the health department, Mr. Martin signs it, you go to the health department, we get them to stamp it, then we bring it to you for your signature. Your signature comes last after we put it in place. So that takes time to do, even this through the process, so that we're not pushing everybody. So that's why I respectfully request a 6-month extension.
6 months.
I think that would give us more than enough time to not, the health department.
What day?
They get too many calls all the time, can you get something done tomorrow? I'd rather give them their due time they need.
Dan, they're here to do the extension of this application. We didn't go through the archaeological, I forget all this stuff. That was part of the conditional approval?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, what happens is whenever there's a stormwater pollution prevention plan, in order to get your speedies coverage, the state automatically kicks it into, you have to have a SHPO letter.
Right.
So that it all runs generally concurrently.
Yeah.
But that was an issue that has to be addressed as part of the preparation of the stormwater pollution prevention plan.
And what I didn't say was, I started with the person being hired and doing the study. As Dan knows, that's actually not the starting point. The starting point is, I go online, I put an inquiry in, I fill out the form. That takes 4 months sometimes, before they come back and say, you are now instructed to have phase 1 done. Then if the phase 1 is done, which is paperwork, it then can go to a phase 2. So there's a double whammy. You can't just jump to phase 2. Phase 2 is where you actually go out and did, which we got. We got phase 1, kicked to a phase 2. Each one of these steps takes time. So you can't pre-do this ahead of time.
Makes
And
sense.
even though you're currently doing it, it's taken slower than the process. So you run past.
You answered all of the comments very nicely, so I personally don't have a problem.
Yeah, so I just think what I should mention for the record is that their current approval is conditioned through May 12th of 2024. So technically, they're here so that they can ask for an extension prior to that expiring and then having it come afterwards. So we appreciate that. I appreciate the efforts that were put into the latest submittal. I mentioned it to the applicant's engineer. I said that they've done a good job making good progress on this, in my opinion. So I think that 6 months makes a certain amount of sense. We normally do it in the 90-day intervals, which would, if we added 180 days to May 12th, that would put it at November 8th, 2024.
We're probably going to be able to do that, but I don't. Health department, as Dan knows, is in flux now with lack of people. I don't want to get in a situation where they take up 6 to 7 weeks, which sometimes they can do. And I assume I think I'd be proper to say that I'm probably going to get that 1 letter back saying can you add 2 more notes.
Yeah, and then we also still need that legal agreement for the maintenance or the access between. So there's a few things that could definitely still take a little more time. But
if we ask for 90 days, we're going to be back there asking for 10 more days on top of it.
Right.
I'm just trying to. I don't think it's hurting the board to give, and I don't intend to use it all. It's just not having to come back out here.
So I'd like to make a motion to grant an extension till November 8th, 2024.
Well, that's only 90 days. Right?
That's 180.
But that's okay.
Yep. Is that okay?
November 8th.
November. Yeah.
Sorry.
I'll second.
You asked for 6 months, right?
Yeah, that's right, I misheard, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Thank you very much.
very good.
Thank you very much.
I doubled down on my comment.
Yeah, till November 8th.
We're extending 6 months.
To no 180 days. I'm sorry?
Well, she first did,
I seconded it.
he seconded.
Move to adjourn?
Yes, all right. Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Yes?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Fay seconded.
So sensitive.